After doing 2 videos in a row talking about Happy Gilmore 2, I thought, you know what, Adam? I gotta get back to something that actually brought me a little bit of joy in theaters, and that was the Fantastic Four: First Steps. Now, while it's not certainly the greatest movie I've ever seen, I had a good time with it. I thought it was a proper introduction to these superheroes, and for a 4th attempt to make them work, this is the one that stuck for me. I put out a review last week for the movie, said it was really good. There's some problems here and there, but for the most part, the MCU has another good movie on their hands. It's nice to have some good stuff from Marvel and Disney again. Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four. We're on the right course, I think. So now that I'm back, I'd like to do a recap video on this movie, going further into the things that I liked and disliked, giving you all the big spoilers, talking about the great family dynamic, and the not so great CG baby that actress Vanessa Kirby claims is not CG. What? Yeah, she said there's very much a real baby being utilized for this movie, and while I don't discredit that, there was definitely some shots in the movie where I said, yeah, that looks like a real baby, but there were many other scenes where I was thinking, did they just repurpose the shitty CGI baby from those Twilight movies? Because that's what it looks like. Let's talk the Fantastic Four. Before I really stretch the old noggin trying to remember what happened just a week ago watching this movie, if you wouldn't mind yelling out, "It's clobbering time!" and smashing the crap out of that subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. That way you won't miss a video by me in the future. You'll see everything I'm putting out. These are Fantastic Four puns. Let me cook. I mentioned this in the regular review, but I love the aesthetic of this movie. The 60s timepiece really works well for this family. And what also really helps is setting it in a completely different universe as the rest of the MCU, separated from Earth 616. I don't know if they actually say what universe they're currently residing in, but the scholars on the internet have thrown out Earth 828. And so do with that information what you will. Now, the common peasant moviegoers may be confused by this one. I thought this was part of the MCU. Where's the big Marvel logo showing all the different clips of Avengers? Where are the Avengers in this movie? Where's Nick Fury? Even though it takes place in the 60s, people are idiots and they'll be confused by this fact. They'll also be confused, and I think fairly so, that this is so separated from the other Marvel stuff because they don't outright tell you when the movie fires up. It just gets right into business. We get a montage for the origin story showcasing what happened to our 4 heroes. Johnny Storm, Ben Grimm, Reed Richards, Sue Storm all find themselves in a precarious situation when they go up into space for reasons I can't possibly remember, and they are met with a cataclysmic event that alters their DNA, giving them super abilities. Reed Richards can stretch. Sue Storm can turn invisible and use force-type abilities. Ben Grimm becomes a CG turd who's really strong. And Johnny Storm turns into a flamer. He has fire abilities. In past iterations, Johnny Storm was always the ladies' man. Not so much here. In fact, this character comes off more as a simp. He's a great brother to Sue Storm, and he definitely likes the ladies, but this guy's a far cry from a Johnny Bravo, sticking closer to something like a Brock from Pokemon. Come to think about it, did Johnny Bravo actually ever get the girl either? Or was he just striking out left and right? Regardless, it doesn't matter. Anyway, Fantastic Four comic book fans are going to be eating really well with the intro to this movie when we do get the heroic montage showing all the times this family has saved the day. There are tons of villain references to the comics. As someone that never read the comics or really knew much about the Fantastic Four outside of their powers, this movie was coming off very much as a live action The Incredibles, which I know The Incredibles was already kind of a play off Fantastic Four, but because of the 60s setting and also having a villain that's just like the Underminer, I think he's called the Mole or something. Listen, these recaps, I go off memory, so tread fucking lightly. Incorrect naming aside, my point still remains. This very much felt like a live action Incredibles, and I was here for it because I thought the chemistry between these 4 leads, the husband, wife, the brother, the best friend, all worked wonderfully. In fact, it worked so well, they kind of overshadow the action, especially in the final act where it turns more into your standard superhero film. That stuff was more boring to me than them just sitting around in the kitchen having a good conversation. And I think the first 30 to 40 minutes of this movie are almost perfect. I really do. I think the pacing, the jokes, the commentary, it all works really well. It's got a tight script. There's tons of playful banter going on, but not an overdone, obnoxious way like the later Thor movies. It's handled very competently. Some of my favorite moments are when doing different panels of Herbie baby-proofing the house. He gets those little outlet plugs in, he puts up the gate, which Ben naturally trips over off camera, yells out Herbie. This stuff all worked very well. And I do think it does an effortless job of bypassing the origin story that people are kind of sick of. Now, I did see negative comments saying, hey, I wanted to see what Marvel did with the origin story. I'm not sick of it. I wanted to see that again. And I get the hang-ups. I understand that. We should be operating like we know nothing about these characters and we're experiencing it for the first time because this is technically the first introduction, aka the first steps. And so because I already knew a little bit about them and their abilities, it's hard for me to separate if this would work as well for someone going in with fresh eyes for the first time, not knowing a single thing about these characters. But regardless, the intro I think gives you more than enough to go off of. I get it, their DNA was altered, they can do some crazy superhero shit. That stuff doesn't really matter that much. It's more about how they operate in this world and how they operate together. Reed Richards can stretch, and he does it in some fun ways here and there, but it's not the focus. It's about this guy's brain and how smart he is. And Sue Storm is no slouch either. She's by his side and occasionally has to pick up the slack when he's too busy, and she has to kind of rally people around the cause. Ben Grimm is the trustworthy best friend, still trying to find his place in this world now that he's been deformed, turned into this big hulking monster. And this is one of the areas where the film dips its toes into a story, but then doesn't complete it. Natasha Lyonne plays the friend/love interest, I suppose. Her name is Rachel. We only see her a couple of times. She says hi to Ben. At one point, he goes over there in the final act of the movie when shit's gonna go south, and he just says he came there to see her. That's the end of that story. That's the end of that arc. Where's the rest of it? Hell, there was an entire character completely cut out of the movie named Red Ghost, played by John Malkovich. He did a bunch of scenes for the film, doesn't make it into the movie at all. He's in the trailers. That's as much as you're gonna get. And I think that was probably the wise choice because this movie is very tightly focused, and that's a good thing for me. The movie is under 2 hours. A lot of people pushed back on that and said, hey, this should be at least 20 minutes longer. I don't necessarily disagree, but I thought the pacing was so well done here. Adding another 10 minutes or so in order to just put another plot point or two in seems completely unnecessary, and so I fully endorse cutting this thing down. In fact, they could have chopped it down another 4 minutes, got rid of that Rachel stuff altogether. Maybe save that for the sequel. For this movie, we have two big plot lines going on, and they're very much intertwined together. Number one, Sue Storm's pregnant. Got a baby on the way, there's a bun in the oven. Which is what the first 30 or so minutes is really gonna focus on, how they're gonna operate with the new kid, how they have to set up the house in its preparation. And it leads to one of my favorite scenes in the film where she utilizes her powers to see inside the womb at their little baby. I'm a big fan when superheroes use their powers in basic everyday things. Like Reed doing some calculations on the chalkboard, just casually reaches over, grabs a coffee mug without even looking at it. It's just smooth operator. The second major plot point is Galactus is coming to town! Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, it was all looking up for a while. Baby formula and fresh diapers, and then suddenly, the Silver Surfer comes to town. Shia LaBeouf makes her big screen appearance, played by Julia Garner. She's a lady of few words. Gives him a little, hey. And then she's like, this is awkward, but I herald his beginning, I herald your end. I herald Galactus. Something to that effect. And then she's like, okay, bye! Johnny Storm, shot out of a fucking cannon, heads after her. Flame on! Grabs her surfboard, she says something in her alien dialect, and then knocks his ass away. So now he's into her. Feels like they had a connection on a deeper, more profound level. And a little subplot of this movie is gonna be him on his own, figuring out what makes her tick. What's the language she's speaking in, and how can he translate that? This is nice because it gives Johnny Storm some dimension. oh, he's actually very intelligent as well, outside of having those smoldering good looks and charm. But again, the ladies don't seem to be into him. There was a point where Sue kind of like tosses him under the bus, insults him a little bit, saying, hey, ladies, just letting you know, he's very much single. A sister would not say that about a guy who's bringing home women every week. Clearly, Johnny's having a hard time at the plate. The middle section of this movie is incredibly strong too, because after doing a little bit of digging on this Silver Surfer and Galactus, they get a read on the Silver Surfer's location, and using black hole technology, they're able to fly their ship to the planet that Galactus is supposedly residing in, only to find out he's eating the damn thing. They show up as a planet is getting decimated by this giant machine Galactus is cruising around in. They enter into this planet-eating ship, and they get to meet the big guy himself. Silver Surfer once again is like, this is awkward. Galactus is willing to trade your planet for the baby that you got on the way. Because Galactus, in his infinite wisdom, can see that the Richards child holds great potential. Short for potential. Something in this baby was modified, and even Reed Richards, the smartest man on Earth, doesn't know what that is, because he even built a device to read all the intricacies of this newborn and not finding a single flaw. But Galactus knows what this baby's cooking, and he's got a little bit of a Vigo from Ghostbusters 2 complex going on. He wants to take the baby. In this case, though, to transfer Galactus's burden into the little tyke, making it so the baby is now chained to this prison of a ship where it's constantly hungry, needs to eat planets, and grow gigantic. What the hell is Galactus gonna do going forward if that plan works? He just becomes a regular guy again? Just wandering the streets? He's an attorney or something? Hey, yeah. This place is better than my last gig, I'll tell you that right now. Wandering around the galaxy, eating planets, it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. What we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is a good old-fashioned trolley problem. Give up one life to save billions, or risk the fate of all humanity for the one. They're going for the one. They're not settling. They gotta protect the baby. Galactus, not thrilled. The Fantastic Four get the hell out of there, jump back in their ship, but they have not lost this fast-ass silver bitch. She flies after him. This is the greatest action scene in the movie, and it is a top-tier superhero action scene in general. This portion, this 10 minutes is freaking nuts. Sue Storm's having a baby on the ship. Meanwhile, they're trying to get through this wormhole as the Silver Surfer is staying hot on their heels. Reed Richards comes up with a cockamamie plan where they're gonna fly out of the wormhole into a sun. They're gonna get close enough to pull the Silver Surfer in, which will definitely slow her down for a while, as she's gonna have to fight getting away from that pull of the sun, get that sweet silver ass out of there. And this worked, but I was on the edge of my seat, like, oh my God, how are they gonna pull this off? Get out of there, Richards! And huzzah! They're able to find safety. But unfortunately, they did not save the day. They get back to Earth, and everyone's like, yay, the Fantastic Four! Did you do it? Did you save us? Are we cool? And Reed's like, actually, no, we're gonna keep the baby. So move the planet? We can move the planet. And that's what they do. After weeks, possibly months, it's snowing at one point, so passage of time is happening. He figures out how to move the planet Earth, because he's smart like that. And it takes virtually no convincing anyone else to go along with this. All the major countries have to build these huge towers that can create a golden dome, an energy dome around Earth. And once they have amassed enough energy, Reed can flip a switch and pew! The Earth goes bye-bye. I actually thought it would have been a fun, maybe clever idea in the script if this is how Fantastic Four got to the Earth proper from the Avengers, from the MCU, where they don't necessarily move Earth, but they move all the inhabitants off of this Earth and onto the 616 version, which would lead to a whole other bag of issues, because we're talking about porting 8 billion or so people from one Earth to another, causing that one to have limited resource, and then Thanos is like, I told you so! I told all you bitches! But now they're just gonna move the Earth into another safe section of space where Galactus will never be able to find them. Sure hope it works. It does not. Because just as they complete all the towers and Reed pops the switch, in comes that pesky Silver Surfer. Guess who's back? Back again. She starts ripping through these things like paper. Before Galactus arrives, it's time for Johnny Storm to showcase what he's been working on. She's cruising around Earth. Johnny catches up to her and starts playing her language back, thanks to the help of Herbie Fully Loaded, who's got these golden discs that they've been putting all the information on. It's quite a project, and it worked out for everyone. This causes her to pause for a little bit and reflect on her life before turning all silver. She had a family, she lived on a beautiful planet, and before Galactus could destroy everything, she turned herself over to him. She would be the one to search out future planets for him to eat. And so he makes her realize the humanity that she's lost along the way and hopes that she'll make the right choice. I sure hope she does in like 20 minutes from now. Thinking super duper fast, Reed decides the only thing left to do is use the baby as bait. And so they're gonna put the little CG baby in the middle of one of these little warp portal things. And the idea is Galactus will step on this mouse trap and then boom, they can drop the net on him. And in this instance, the net is a black hole that will open up and suck him inside. And I believe the window is like 8 seconds or something. I don't know. I don't remember the amount of time they have. Maybe it's a couple minutes. In either case, it's a long shot. And might I just add, this baby looks atrocious throughout most of these scenes. If this is a real baby, the parents might want to be concerned that their kid is made out of pixels. Now comes the final action set piece where all our characters get to showcase a tiny amount of skill, and it really all comes down to Sue Storm, who goes full Mama Bear mode. She's launching little invisible bursts of energy at Galactus, who comes down to Earth. He's walking around, he sees the Statue of Liberty, "M'lady," looks at her, doesn't touch. He's a gentleman like that. He starts kind of slowly smashing through buildings, and he's scanning for baby, and he finds the little tyke. Oh, by the way, the baby's name is Franklin, and they say this name quite a bit in the final act, so much so that I was getting annoyed. Franklin! Look out, Franklin! Stop him from getting Franklin! First off, the name Franklin's not great to say over and over, and the shorthand for Franklin is Frank, which also doesn't sound very cool to say out loud a bunch of times. Get to Frank! But I digress. Galactus is heading over there, and Sue, just pummeling this asshole with her little force abilities. Ugh, what? Why? He starts to stumble. Whoa, I eat planets, but this little force field is too much for my taste. Meanwhile, the thing goes full football player, smashing that shoulder into some beams, which cause a building to fall, making Galactus slip his hands. Oh no, I'm still falling. Mr. Fantastic finally stretching around, grabs a spear, and he starts smashing at the back of Galactus's little cord things, whatever the hell those are. Those are flying all over the place, causing a hell of a mess. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have our Rose Tico moment. Johnny Storm, in a final act of courage, says, "Hey, tell little Franklin I love the son of a gun." And he flies head first into Galactus to push him all the way into the black hole, only to be thwarted by Tico herself, Silver Surfette. She says, "I'll drive from here, bozo." And she and Galactus both go down together. Just in the nick of time, the portal closes. Baby Franklin's fine. We've saved Franklin. Franklin's still here, Franklin. Now, even though they saved the day and defeated Galactus, Sue Storm lost her life in the process. It's been a long day without you, my Sue. Psych! The little baby Franklin gets put on top of her. Definitely looks realistic. Definitely looks like he's there and not green screened on top or a CG abomination. Either way, he goes, "Mama, baby Franklin sad, mama, mama." And like seals kiss from the rose on a gray, he's able to bring her back with Franklin magic. And quite frankly, it's about time. Sue survives. Everyone in this family is still intact, baby. You love to see it. You love to read it. Subscribe. And then we get a post-credit scene pretty early on. Scan-den. Franklin is now 4 years older. Scan-den. We are in the Fantastic Four Tower. Skidity! Bum, 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 bum. Someone looms around the corner. It's Dr. Doom! Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom. Or is it? I don't know, because we don't actually see Robert Downey Jr. We just see kind of the shoulder and then the mask turn at the camera. Ding! See you guys in the next Avengers movie. Doomsday. Here's another one. Here's another one. There is one final post-credit scene, but it's just an animated callback to the old TV show. Again, comic fans will like it. It did nothing for me, but yeah, you've probably seen it at this point if you are a big fan anyways, so I'm just still talking for no reason. All right, there you have it. The spoiler recap for the Fantastic Four. Overall, really enjoyed this one. It goes by very quickly. The final act could have maybe used a little work. Galactus was definitely underpowered in the final act. I didn't care that much though, because again, even though there was some great action in this film, especially in that middle portion, I was more on board with just the family themselves. Kind of like with The Incredibles, I was more hooked on the characters than I was the action scenes and how easily they defeat a giant villain. Would have been nice if they put more effort into that. I'm okay with it. And there you have it, the Fantastic Four recap. Let me know if you saw the movie, what you thought. Are you in line with me? You thought this was a pretty solid entry? Not perfect by any means, but a great start. Very good first steps for this new property. Please, again, I would encourage you to subscribe to Adam Does Movies on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Got a brand new merch store up. You can find links in the link tree. Infinite Wisdom t-shirt, Strong Female Lead t-shirt. The catchphrases are there, amongst other things. Highly recommend you check it out. And all the stuff is 10% off right now because it's a brand new thing. All right, that's all I got for you. Hopefully I see you next time. Take care. Wow, we had some fun, did we? On a serious note, if you appreciate my content, I am a one-man band. This is a ton of work and you want a way to give back. Head on over to patreon.com/AdamDoesMovies. There's tons of exclusive perks over there. Look at these awesome supporters so far. There's some of the best people on this planet, and you could be one of them. You could be right there alongside, and I would appreciate it.